The scope panel shows which variables are available at the current line. What does the scope panel does? It helps you understand where variable lives. Two things: local variable exists inside a function, and global variable exists everywhere. For example, let me pull up my code editor and show you this. So I say I have a variable like this and a small function test. Let y equals to 5. Also, just log x plus y. Then outside I can call the function. If you check at the console, sorry. Now we can see the output is now 15. Now at this breakpoint, let me just get this right. Now at this breakpoint here, if which is 40. Now look at it. You can see that at the breakpoint, y exists only inside the function. You can see that this is the result of y, which is 5, as you can see right here. So if I pull it back, then it disappears. Now, with that breakpoint, this tells me that before x and y is being added together, y on its own, if I want to find the value of y, it has a value equivalent to 5. So the scope panel helps me to understand what is happening to my variable at any particular point in time. So that is the purpose of the scope panel in JavaScript. So local variable exists inside the function, just as the example that I showed us just now. Now, how do you watch variables in your code execution? The watch panel lets you track variable values like. So the way we have scope panel, we also have the watch panel, and its purpose is to let you track variable values. Now it is useful especially when values change many times. Add a variable name to the watch panel, and then it will keep watching and keep tracking of it. The value updates automatically as you step through the code. Watch variables instead of adding many console.log calls can help you to understand how the value of your variable changes in your code. So you change variable, like you change your variable like many times, or just for a few times in a couple of a program, or in a couple of a project, or in a couple of an exercise. You can use the watch panel to keep track and to keep to keep watch on that variable as it changes its values many times. Now, there are some things that you should avoid as a beginner. Number one thing is that when you add a breakpoint, don't always forget to reload the page, because at the point where your browser executes the code and run into that breakpoint, it will stop executing. And even if you put further code after that, it will not work. So always remember that once you are done with whatever thing you want to get with the breakpoint added to your code, always remember to reload the page so that you can get current value as you keep working in your code editor. And also one thing to note is that variable breakpoint inside loops can trigger many times. When you add breakpoints, when you add it to loop, it can trigger many times. So it's one of the mistakes that you should try to avoid as much as possible when working in your code. Also, if execution stops repeatedly, disable the breakpoint temporarily. When you add breakpoint and it's halting execution, if it stops repeatedly, it will be time to disable the breakpoint temporarily. Now, the next thing is that when exactly should you use breakpoints? When to use breakpoints? When in your code should you use breakpoint? Number one, when value changes unexpectedly. When you notice that value change unexpectedly, it might be time for you to use breakpoints in order to troubleshoot or trace what exactly is wrong. Another thing is when code runs but produce wrong results. If your code runs, it executes, but the result you are getting is not what is expected or what you think should be the correct result, it might be time to use a breakpoint for the purpose of debugging. And lastly, when debugging complex logic, sometimes if you have a complex logic in your code and it needs debugging, it might be the time to add breakpoints in order to trace and debug each of the logic one after the other. So these are the criteria to consider when it comes to breakpoints to let you know whether you should use it in the concept of debugging or not.